Good morning or good evening. This is Rafi Makapagal again, President and owner of Ascent Cars Auto Center, ACAC Transportation Services. And I'm here to talk about the part 6 of our Prosperity series, which we started a few months back. So this is a sequel to the last topic that we had, which is retirement. So right now I'm in a different venue. This is actually my man cave here at home, and I just decided to, out of the blue, shoot this. Having the ideas in my mind. The topic that I want to discuss today is about something that a lot of people, I would say 80% of the Filipinos are afraid of. No, it's actually the biggest fear of 80% of Filipinos, and it's called debt or utang. No, so I wanted to discuss this particular topic because I might be able to actually show some perspective when it comes to sa usaping utang, or what we call probably loans or borrowing money, or debt as a concept, as a whole. So debt, as we call it, for some people is equivalent to death. Because sabi nila, if you get yourself too much in debt, there's no way you're gonna move ahead in your life. And that's probably true. But I have this particular belief that I would want to share with everybody. And I hope that you have watched, some of the videos, or probably all of the videos that we have posted. Because this is originally, something that I learned in my life. That, debt, or ang utang, is what you call a poor man's enemy. It's a poor man's enemy because it gives, what it does is that it drags you down, it makes your life miserable, it, limits your ability to live your life to the fullest. But on the other hand, I've also seen that debt, or loans, or borrowing money, is a rich man's friend. So how is that possible, no? Something that is actually an enemy of one sector is a friend of another sector. And this is where perspective comes in. I would like to discuss, for most of you probably who are watching me for quite some time now, this is a very interesting topic because now you will gain some level of perspective. This is a notch higher than our discussions. This is now a little bit more on the intellectual side. But, I would discuss this the best way I can. So, the best na posible kong mai-discuss siya. And how we should be able to treat debt and use it to our advantage, no? So, utang. So, most of us, we don't like to make utang. Ayaw natin na nangutang tayo. Bakit? Kasi ayaw natin na may utang dahil ayaw natin ng sakit ng ulo. We always say that pag may utang tayo, wala tayong katahimikan, or sumasakit ang ulo natin, and most especially, ayaw natin ng nangungutang. Ayaw natin ng iniistorbo tayo or kinukulit tayo. So, but do you know that debt is one reality of life that no one can get away from, no? Lahat tayo, one way or the other, magkakautang. No? So, there are very fortunate few that will probably live debt-free. But let me tell you this, these are like very, very few people, or like these are exemptions. But for sure, if they're the first generation rich, or if they have made it on their own, they probably understand that debt or loans are their best friend. So I will show you how debt is being treated by poor sector, the poor people, and then how the rich people actually deals with debt. Sa bakit ba tayo nangungutang? Ang mga Pilipino, ano po ba ang dahilan ng ating mangungutang? I-divide ko ang ating, sectors into three. Probably yung pinaka unang-unang sector, ito yung talagang what we call parang marginal, no? These are like people who barely make ends meet. And then the second, sector, or the second group will be the people that we call middle class. These are the people who have graduated in college, have a decent job, and purchase their homes, and drives their car. So the regular middle class Filipino. And then the third are the rich ones, or the wealthy Filipinos, no? These are going to be the three things that we will deal with. How do debt or ang utang, anong ginagawa sa tatlong sektor ito? Anong inuutang nila? at bakit sila nangungutang or anong purpose ng utang sa, ano ang ginagawa ng utang sa kanila. Okay, so this is going to be very interesting because I'm sure everyone is very, very eager to hear how we should go about debt. So the first group, or what we call the marginal income ones, nangungutang sila because of basic needs. These are the people that will borrow money or will probably make loans if they can because of food, because of rent, because of ulam, because of tuition fees, because of baon ng mga anak, or because may nagkasakit, wala silang pampaospital. So these are like basic needs, no? Na hindi nila napapagkasya kung ano yung mga kinikita nila. Hence, they will have to resort to borrowing money. And if you recall, when we discussed the first topic, which is income expense, no, and then asset liability, we talked about why people really have a hard time moving forward or getting ahead of their lives or their financials, because they tend to actually overspend, or like may mga gastusin sila na, or may mas malaki sila gumastos kaysa sa mas malaki silang kumita. Ang kinikita nila is like less. They are spending more, which is a really, really very big problem. So that's why, if you go back, you should probably have planned now kung paano mo ayusin yan. Kung kulang ka man ng income, you should have, come up with something na for you to do extra, or like how to generate additional income so that you will never have to actually be indebted or hindi ka magkaroon ng mga utang. So, bakit? Pag dyan ka sa sector na yan, so mga kabrad, ka-auto, kabayan, dapat iwasan natin mangutang, no? It is actually not advisable na nangungutang tayo dahil kailangan natin ipantusto sa mga basic needs natin. That is purely, from my standpoint, is irresponsible. Meaning, we should be able to find a way for us to really feed ourselves and give ourselves and our children the basic necessities of life. So, ibig sabihin yan, probably kailangan lang natin magsipag ng konti o magtiyaga ng konti or magbago ng pag-uugali when it comes to our work or sa trabaho natin. Most of the people that are here, the reason why the income is marginal is because hindi tayo tumatagal sa mga trabaho natin. We tend to jump from one ship to another. And this is very classic. I have seen this, no? Halimbawa, I'll give you an example, and this has nothing to do with no discrimination at all, no? And no pun intended. I've had like painters in my shop for so many years now. And they come and go. You know why? Because if they have contracts, kaya nilang kumita ng up to 3,000 a day or 3,500 a day kasi they will accept per panel. Pero pag wala silang kontrata, they barely make any money. Bakit? Kasi wala naman pong tatanggap sa'yo na ngayon, nandito ka sa kumpanya, pagkatapos pag may kontrata ka, hindi ka papasok at dahil mas malaki kikitain mo doon. So, that is not how it works. Sometimes you just have to actually make decisions. And usually, yung mga taong ganito, they think that laging may kontrata, hindi po nangyayari yan. You are not in for a long term. What you need to do is set your mind that you have to have a stable source of income. Iba po yung stable source of income day in and day out. It stabilizes your financials, it stabilizes your family's needs, and it secures you. Hindi po dadating yung panahon na wala kang kontrata, akala mo malaking kinita mo nung isang linggo, pero ngayon wala kang kinikita. Nako, you are being unproductive. Just find a company that you can definitely work on or you can work with and work for, and make sure that you last or magkaroon ka ng sense of loyalty. Dito ka po magkakaroon ng at least a brighter future, because there are people or there are like owners na pag nakita naman ang dedication mo at ang loyalty mo at ang ang passion mo sa trabaho mo, you are definitely going to be promoted or you're going to be given reward. So at least day in and day out, may ine-expect ka. Hindi ka ngayon magkakaroon ng utang ng basta-basta. The reason why itong utang is because these are usually from people na hindi permanent or hindi stable ang mga trabaho. Parang may kita ngayon, bukas wala. So ngayon big time, bukas mahirap pa sa daga. So that's my piece of advice for this particular sector. Just learn to really be good at what you do, learn loyalty as well, and learn to be, looking at long term. Do not jump into something na quick buck, pero in the long run, it's not gonna work for you. Magkakautang-utang ka, hence, ito po yung sector na sobrang mahihirapan po kayo makaahon. Because at the end of the day, ang pinangungutang nyo is basic necessities which you cannot afford not to have. Kung hindi, mamamatay tayo or hindi magkakasakit tayo or hindi natin magkakaroon tayo ng problema sa ating mga health. So, the basic necessities, pag ipinangungutang natin, then there must be something to be done when it comes to our source of income. Find a company or make it a point to make a long-term commitment in your work in certain companies so that you can probably move ahead. So, this is, a very different approach when it comes to, kasi itong mga to, gusto lang nating itawid to na sila magkautang at magkaroon sila ng stable source. At least, they are not going to be poor or live in poverty line. Now, the second sector or the second group, this is what you call the middle class. The most popular, sector in the country. Itong mga middle class, ano ang mga inuutang nila? These are the people na gumraduate ng college, mga may magagandang trabaho, they have, very nice homes, and they live in good villages, and they drive, nice cars. Ito po, ang mga inuutang ng mga taong to na nandito sector are, like, number one, their homes or their houses. They will loan their houses, they will live in, like, nice villages, and they will have to pay it for that 25 years. No? That's the usual thing. 25 years, like, let's say 20 years. Some people will file pag-ibig loans. Some will actually pay that through bank loans. Yan po inuutang nila yan. No? Why? Because they would want to have a house that they live in and they can call it their own. Ano pa po? They also loan their cars. The cars that they use, they actually like put down payment and like buy brand new, and then essentially amortize it in the next 3 to 5 years. So what else? They also file loans or pay later for gadgets like laptops, like cell phones. What else? When they go shopping, they also defer payment or use their credit card. Inutang nila yung kanilang mga clothes or kanilang mga shoes, the things that makes them who they are. So when it comes to their image, they will use their credit cards, or they will probably defer their payments when they buy their perfumes, when they buy their all of their accessories, makeups, and all these things. No, when they go to the parlor to get themselves really beautiful and pogi. So anyway, as you can see, probably most of you will fall under these two, no? The first one or the second one, but mostly, I'm sure, most of the people that are listening here falls on the second one, which is this one. The danger here, as I mentioned, no, if you watched the last video, is that the things that you are loaning or naglo-loan ka for specific things that are liabilities. House, the car, the cell phones, the laptops, these are things that you buy and that you borrow money from na nakakautang ka, pero hindi po nag-generate sa'yo ng pera. No? Bagkus kumukuha po sa'yo ng pera, like ang bahay mo, as I said, will always be getting money from you for maintenance and renovation, like, additional rooms or additional appliances. So these are like, a house is going to eat a lot of more money from you. So, but it will never generate you any cash flow. It's going to be cash out. So anyway, that second one, like say cars, it becomes a necessity. Some middle class people even send their kids to school with their specific and particular cars. So isang kotse para sa isang anak. Or pag nag-college kayo, just like my family, all of us have are driving cars going to school. So, but as I said, our parents file a loan or bought that as car loan. And these are not in any way bringing any money to them. So technically they will say, just like my parents will say, we're investing in you. So we're giving you like this benefit because we believe that you're investing in you as a kid. Yeah. But most of us can go without it, right? I mean, if we can, just probably use the jeepneys or use the cabs or use the train. It's a necessity of life. We can do that because it's a more practical way and it's a more prudent way. It's not like, we're adding up to the traffic, and what happens is like since we are not capable naman talaga to drive pa the car because we're gonna ask our parents with gas money, we're going to be asking them for maintenance money. So, we're doing something that we can't afford. So, ako po, nung during that time when I was in college, I was given a car by my parents, but I would rather probably commute if it's not something that I can afford. If I'm just going to make them spend over that car because I'm using it, and most of us, pagdating ng college, gagamitin lang natin yan, pamporma-porma, pampa-cool, para may mga chicks tayo, something like that, no? But to be honest with you, I don't think that, that is a good way for us to utilize our resources. So, if you are like in college and your parents are like this, maybe you can tell them, hey, mom, dad, maybe you should not, buy me a car that is loaned. Maybe that is something that you can just put in an asset. So that is another liability that they bought. What about laptops and all the other gadgets like cell phones? Like your cell phone, if you're paying a line, it's a liability because if you're a student, unless you are working and your cell phone generates money. Again, at the end of the day, what I'm saying here is, if it generates money for you and it's it's part of your job, that's good. But if it's not, like most of us Filipinos, 80% uses cell phones and we spend. Like we spend for load, we spend for we spend for shopping there on the internet. And even the laptops, no? We use them probably for our education, correct? And that is going to yield benefits later on. Yes, but no, majority still of people uses laptops for nothing. They just go through the internet. They don't even earn money. They don't even have like online shop. But if this laptop, generates money, it's an asset for you because you establish a store and the system is there, and that is a very important part of your business, then that's good. But more than anything else, everything else that, the middle class people, buy at a loan are purely liabilities. So, now, these particular debts or itong mga borrowed funds na to or itong mga loans na to, they become burden to the family or the burden to every individual. Because at the end of the day, if you suddenly, lose a job or does not get a good pay increase, your debt starts to increase. Because ang pera pong inuutang natin, hindi naman po yan pinahiram lang sa atin out of goodwill. That is the business of the bank. The bank then earns money by collecting interest from you. And most of us, we think that banks are bad, because they are practically using us. Nagigipit na nga tayo, tas iniinteresan pa tayo. That is one way of looking at it. But at the end of the day, it's their business and that's how they make money. And from the very onset, nung nangutang tayo, we understand that. So don't blame the bank if you guys cannot pay your loans. It's not their fault. From the very beginning, hindi ka po nila pinilit. In fact, nag-apply ka. So I have my sentiments against the bank in some areas, but in this particular case, pag nangutang ka sa kanila, it is your obligation to fulfill whatever it is that the terms and conditions that you've signed on is fulfilled. And that is the sign of being a responsible, person. So, dito, very important makikita nyo, na yung first sector tsaka yung second sector, they needed to increase or they needed to really make alaga of their credit ranking or credit credibility nila, yung credit ranking nila. Why? Because if your credit ranking is low, dahil meron kang mga missed loans or meron kang missed payments, meron kang bounced checks, meron kang unpaid dues, or meron kang credit card na hindi mo binayaran, lahat po yan nakakapekto sa pagiging financially free natin or pagiging financially stable natin. Bakit? Hindi po tayo pwedeng umunlad o lumago nang hindi po natin ginagamit ang bangko. Again, as I said, di ba nung unang video ko, if you remember, I said ang utak mayaman hindi nagpapatagal ng pera sa bangko. Hindi ko sinabing hindi nagbabangko. You just have to use the bank. You just use the bank for all your transactions because that secures your transactions, your business transactions. It secures your funds and your notes and all the other instruments in your business become secured using the bank because it's a financial institution and you can trust the bank. But if you will leave the money that you earn there, that is what I'm saying na huwag niyong gagawin. Bakit? Because Ngayon nga po, matutulog doon, matutunaw po yun na parang mantikilya. Because there are so many factors like interest rates, like inflation, like all these things will affect the money that is not moving. Kaya nga po tinawag na currency yan eh. It has to be current. It needs to be moving so that it will serve its purpose. And so it will create jobs and it will generate productivity. But if it's not doing what it's supposed to do, then that will slip, that will just definitely slip away or like melt away. Okay? So, yan po. Ngayon, as it starts to get a burden for everyone in these particular groups, now, we see na nakakainis tong utang, nakakainis na nababaon ako sa utang, and then it becomes, the very, very thing that we are very stressed about. Every single day, it becomes our worry. When we wake up in the morning, we are still thinking how we can pay these debts, how we can pay these loans, how we can pay this thing, how can we make ends meet, how can we pay tuition fee. All of these things, right? 80% of the people has this as their number one worry. Number one worry is where will they get their financials? Where will they get the amount to pay all these necessities that they have? So, again, because we never sat down and assess what are the needs and what are the wants. In this particular case, the house doesn't need to be purchased. The car doesn't need to be loaned. The laptop doesn't need to be used. The credit card. Why? Because there are probably some things that we don't need. We just probably want them. So if we stick to those what we need, for the time being now that we still don't have financial muscle, then we should not have any problems living within our means. Just learn to live within our means. Some people live beyond their means and like pretend that they are freaking, rich or they have freaking money. But to be honest with you, the real deal is if you really know and stumble on how to make money, you will never show off. No, that is the truth. Those people that really have money doesn't have or never needs to show off. Why? Because it is the sign that you have discovered what it takes to really become ahead of your life. You don't flaunt these things. You just continue to use these things to become a blessing to others. So that's the rich man's mentality. Anyway, as I was mentioning, ito burden siya. Now we treat debt as our enemy, as the enemy. Ang utang po sa mga dalawang sektor na to ng mga tao ay tinatawag nilang kaaway. They hate loans, they hate debt because natinalo sila nito. They can't beat debt. Hindi nila matalo yung utang. Kaya po, kalaban nila to. Kaya po masyadong marami sa atin na may wrong connotation and even teaches our kids or teaches the people around us na huwag kayong mangungutang kasi magkakaroon lang kayo ng problema, magiging miserable yung buhay ninyo. Well, that is the common knowledge now for middle-class families and the marginal families. Now, that is where we all are at the moment, mostly. But now, I want to offer another perspective. And I want all of you who are part of that particular thing where you hate debt or na kinamumuhian nyo yung pag-utang to listen to me just for the next 3 to 4 minutes because this might change the way you look at things. That poor man's enemy, as we call it, a poor or middleman's class enemy, debt, is the rich man's friend. And you know why? It's because nobody, if you start with if you start with nothing, this is the concept of getting wealthy, just in a very short, in a snapshot. You can never become rich, or you can never get ahead or financially free, or you cannot get ahead of your financials. You cannot be prospering if you're just gonna rely on your own effort. Why? Because you only have 24 hours, you only have one body, and you can only get as much salary. So there are a few people who probably will get rich because they're so good at what they do, like athletes, show business people, because of a lot of endorsements. But this, as I'm saying, just relying on a single 8-hour work or like effort that you do, like sabi mo kahit 12 hours pa yan, can only generate you as much. This is where you will need probably leverage. How do you leverage? Halimbawa, ang mga taong the rich man's concept of debt is like the rich people, they borrow money for certain reason. First, they borrow money to start up a business. They would start a business. Do you know that the first very important lesson in business, no, when I was in business school, is like, understand OPM. So, hindi po original Filipino music. OPM means other people's money. You know, you will be taught that you, as a business person, should have like concepts and should understand how things work, how to make, profit. And you should be able to go out there, show the bank what you have in mind on how you're going to run your business and how you're going to make profit, because the bank's role is really to help you finance those ideas. Because the banks have so much money, and if they don't move, it will just melt away. So they have to find a way for you or for them to let that money be borrowed by people. And so this particular group of people is the favorite, people that banks actually want to offer loans, no? Bakit? Kasi itong mga sektor na to, ito yung utang ng utang, nagbabayad, tuloy-tuloy nagbabayad, and then utang pa rin ng utang ng utang. This is where the banks leverage. But in the process, this particular people also leverages the bank. So this is where you can see how smart rich people are. Kunyari, wala akong kapera-pera, and gusto ko mangutang, pero hindi ako utang para sa pagkain ko. Ang utangin ko is para sa negosyo ko. Now, mag-establish ako ng negosyo, yung kikitain ko sa negosyo, yun ang pambibili ko ng pagkain. Hindi ko pambibili ng pagkain yung inutang ko. Hindi ko rin pambibili ng kotse yung inutang ko. Anong gagawin ko? Magsisimula ako ng business, and then I will make that business make money, and then make that money that comes in is cash flow. That is what I spend to buy a car, or to buy food, or to buy a house. But I'm not spending what I borrowed and then pay it without any source. So I will establish first the income source. That's the rich man's thinking. So they also buy, or nangungutang sila to buy assets. Assets, that's everything a rich man's goal when they borrow money. Not to fulfill their basic needs, not to buy anything that is not of value, not to put it in things that will get more money from them. They borrow money because they can see that by using the money that they will borrow, it can multiply. Meron silang idea. It's what you call bridge financing. So for example, and this is just an example, pero you can always try this, because I have whatever example I will tell you, I've done it, no? Example, if I'm gonna borrow money, if I'm working now, no? And so my salary is this. The salary can actually fit, or maybe not. What I will do is, like, if I borrow money and then I want to invest that into asset, what I can do is, like, probably first buy a piece of land. And that you can only put up like 5 to 10% of equity, and then that piece of land you can lease, no? And then you will pay that to the bank. So while you're leasing that, no, you can pay off the bank from your loan, and that property is being paid by itself. Kung magkano mo siya pinapaupa, binabayad mo sa bangko. It's the same concept as like condo, rent to own. Parang, okay, mag-loan ako sa bangko, and then I will pay this off, and while I pay that off, I will have the condominium rented, and what's the rental income will be the one that will pay, that condo na iniloan ko. So in the process, I did not shell out money, pero I'm acquiring assets. So akin na yung condo na yan, kahit na ang bangko ang pinagbayad ko. Now, ang pambabayad ko sa bangko, manggagaling sa renta ng condominium. Do you get the point? No? So that's just one thing. So, as I said, there are a lot of other things. When you borrow money and use that for you to gain more out of like what the money is for, then you are making debt as your best friend. So, I'll give you another example. So, I got this idea, how can I make, because I'm a car freak, I'm a very, very, huge enthusiast of cars since I was young. I race cars, I collect them, I kind of, really try to make them, as part of my life, daily routine, and all these things. So I like to drive fast. So now, how can I use if I'm going to loan and like put it in my passion? So if right now, if I can get a way for me to get that particular car that I will loan to be a taxi, or to be a TNVS, or be something to be in rent a car, then that means that car becomes an asset, no? Yung liability mo, once nagkaroon yan ng ability to be rented, or to be hired, to be for hire, or to be paid for, then it becomes an asset because it earns income, no? And now, earning an income, hindi naman nangangailangan ikaw mag-drive. So you can definitely leverage, like find a driver and make the driver drive that car that you bought, that you loaned, no? Nag-loan ka, and then you ask, you find a way for it na magkaroon siya ng line or na maging public transport siya, and then you find a driver. So a classic example is, for me, I loaned the car, and then I applied for a Grab franchise before, and then I put a driver there. Now, that particular car is making money day in and day out. So, yun yung sinasabi ko, isang passive income. Look, I am paying 17,000 per month. 17,000 per month. Now, when I put that out, that driver pays me 26,000 daily and inclusive or exclusive maintenance. Siya na maintenance because he's the one using it. So now, in process, what I borrowed from the bank, which is 17,000 monthly, and then I get 26,000 from the boundary that I get there. Now, I'm getting a passive income of 9,000 and I'm acquiring the asset. Right or wrong? I borrowed money to purchase an asset, which is the car. Pero kung I borrowed money to purchase the car without a line, without TNVS or without taxi franchise or whatsoever, I am acquiring a liability. So in this case, I, for one, decided, it was 6 years ago, that I would want to get, a Grab franchise. Hence, I keep making money while I borrowed whatever it is that I needed to pay for the car. So in 5 years, it's already mine, and I probably earned the 500,000. And then in the 6th and 7th year, it's all profit for me. So now, you see, I borrowed money. And out of that money, I acquired assets, I acquired earnings. So if I multiply that by 10, so if I can borrow 10 from 10 banks, or if I can borrow for 10 cars, now I'm starting to build wealth. Why? Because each car will probably give me 3.5 million at the end of like 7 to 10 years. And I will just have to pay them about 1 million pesos. So I borrowed money for 1 million and I turned it into something 3.5 delivered to me in the next 7 to 10 years. That means I'm making a profit of at least 2.5 million. Now, as I said, if I made that scalable and put 10, if I can borrow 10 from these banks, no, that's where I hope I can still borrow. I hope I can still have debts. No? Sana mapautang pa ako. This is the rich man's mentality. Why? Because so that I can continue to accumulate assets. I can continue to buy condominiums, I can continue to buy lands, or I can continue to buy cars that have TNVS line, no, or for hire. And in this case, among all of those, I'm going to tell you, in this right and day age, the best thing where you can put your the best thing that you can do when you borrow money is to put that in vehicle that actually produces money. Right now, that is one of the things that I found that, you can get loans from the bank as low as like 8%, 6% per annum. And then the income that it will generate, the cars that you will buy that can actually generate the kind of income that I was telling you, putting it into Grab or like putting it in Joyride or putting it in, before in Uber, in this particular, or putting it in taxi, is about 38%. So roughly 35 to 40%. So every year, if you borrow 6% and then ang kikitain mo is 38%, you get a 32% net income from what you borrowed or from what your operation is. So that means you're earning 32% more, from the amount you borrowed each year. And the bigger the amount you borrowed, o mas malaki ang utang mo, mas malaki ang 32%. For example, I was permitted by the bank to loan 10 million. So yung 10 million na yun, ang babayaran kong interest doon, about 6%, I will only pay about 600,000 pesos in interest. Look at this. Ngayon, nakakatakot yan. Ang laki. But look at the earnings that I will get. And this is something I can show you. If you visit me in our office, I can definitely show you the figures and the numbers. And I can definitely make that 10 million, make 38%, which is what? 3.8 million. 3.8 million yung ma-generate ng 10 million na yun. Ang babayaran ko lang na interest is 600,000. So that means, using other people's money or dahil sa inutang ko na yon, nagkaroon ako ng extra 3.2 million in a year. Isn't that great? Meaning, if I can make it 100 million, let's scale it up. 100 million, and then I put it in the same opportunity and in the same asset. I bought all of it and like put it in these assets. I will pay 6 million pesos in interest to the bank while I make 38 million profit each year. So now, 38 million minus 6 million is 32 million. If I can borrow 100 million, that is what I will make. Now, tell me, how come if you are now in my situation, you are looking, you are finding, and I hope that this particular debt, makautang ako, becomes my best friend. You know why? Because the more I borrow, the more I earn. So bakit tayo natatakot mangutang? Ang question lang dyan is because if we don't have anything that we understand and we know and we're absolutely sure that we can get that money into so that it will yield better income. Pero remember this, lahat ng yumaman use the bank loans, debts, at investments, kaya sila nagpapa-IPO so that people can actually buy their shares and make those money like borrowed money, and they will businessmen will give them like profit shares or profit dividends later on. It's because kung binibigyan kayo ng company ng 2% dividend out of the total income, they get 90%. So I will, as a company owner, will make, times 50 of what you guys will get. It's the same thing. The bank will get a portion of it. That's because it's my idea. If I will make 100%, if I borrowed 100 billion and then I got 100 billion at the same year, I will pay 6 million only. Then that means I will have the 94 million as my profit. I can pay off, that particular loan with me making extra 38 million. So, the bigger the loan that a rich man does, the more wealth they accumulate or the more assets they accumulate because they use debts in accumulation of assets. So now, if you still don't see what I'm trying to show you, other people's money is the key para magkaroon ka po ng prosperity. Huwag kang matakot mangutang pag meron kang paglalagyan na mas malaki ang kita mo kaysa sa interest. So, eto, if you want me to show you exactly opportunities where you can put money, kung meron kayong mauutang, or natatakot kayong umutang, or meron magpapahiram sa inyo, sa tingin niyo, I'm not telling you to borrow money. But what I'm just saying to you is like, if in case I can show you opportunities where you can take advantage of it, you can borrow money from the bank and then utilize their resources with your business ideas so that you can make more than what you're paying them. So that's how you get rich. That's how people get rich. You know, why do people like tycoons get so much land? It's not that they have money to buy it. They started also without money. They borrowed money and they bought these lands and they sell those lands at a higher rate and then they pay off the bank. And in the process, they also again borrow money, keep buying lands and buy properties and then pay off that, sell those to people at a higher rates and a higher cost and pay off the bank. That's how people get really, really wealthy. The bigger your debts are, the bigger your opportunity to earn, your way to becoming financially free. So it doesn't mean na you have utang, hindi ka financially free. To be honest with you, even the richest people in the world, even Trump, Donald Trump, he's a very rich guy, became president of the United States, uses debt in order for him not to pay taxes. And it's a matter of like perspective, as I said, perspective. Now, ngayon, after hearing this, maybe some of you may have gotten the idea na, okay, hindi naman pala nakakatakot mangutang. True. The first important thing that people who wants to borrow money so that they can get out of financial rat is you just have to be financially responsible. Meaning financial responsibility requires that you need to pay on time. You need to fulfill your obligation when you borrow money so that you can become professional and you can continue to loan or borrow money from the bank. Having debts is not nakakahiya. Having debts is hindi makakasama because that is if you use it properly. So here, you see, pinakita ko sa inyo today kung paano ang utang kalaban at kaaway ng mga mahihirap at middle class, samantalang best friend ito ng mga taong mayayaman. So now, it's up to you. How do you want to treat debt, or how do you want to actually deal with debt or loans or like borrowing money, it will dictate where will you fall on the three. Okay? So thank you very much. I hope I've shed some light again. And for those who are, really listening to this particular series, please give me comment. Please send comments and like tell me what you think about this particular topic. And then again, if you are very interested in creating passive income, I will say this once again, set up an appointment, visit us. We have cars that are assets. These cars can definitely generate income. And I have programs where you can probably help other people, change their lives, but at the same time, you help yourself by multiplying your capital by helping other people. And I will show you exactly how all this, intertwine. We can all be a very, very self-sustaining community, or our ecosystem can be balanced by helping the poor ones, get out of the poor or the poverty line living, while you are also making money. So you make them earn money, you also make money. So everybody happy. But that's only possible if you will visit us. Our showroom center, of the cars that we are actually selling or offering is in, you can waste Ascent Cars Auto Center, Block 136, Lot 17, Mindanao Avenue Extension, Casa Milan, no? Fairview, Quezon City, just near Toyota Fairview. You can also, comment here or like set up an appointment. Again, I will say this, we do not encourage walk-ins because, to be honest with you, our center, since, we started selling, posting these videos, have become, really overcrowded. So it causes traffic in our street. It also causes traffic inside the showroom. So we encourage everyone to set up an appointment with the staff, the back office staff like Lynn, Kath, Georgina. So talk to these ladies and please set up an appointment and we can meet and I can definitely discuss more for you. Okay? Cheers.